Welcome, everybody, yet another episode of the Wrestling vs. the World podcast. If you're enjoying your day, sweet. If not, then what the hell ever. It is time to finally close off 2025 with the next episode of the Wrestling vs. the World podcast. I've done a few episodes where I've covered wrestling being featured in different TV shows like Rugrats and Garfield and Ed, Edd n Eddy. And today I thought I would bring up Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I know it's a show that's a little out there to bring up here. I did like the show back in the day, so let's cover the one that was Season 4, Episode 17, titled Salem's Daughter. So the episode's opening scene involves Sabrina. She's getting a visit from the Paperboy, who's actually an older guy on the bike. I guess he's supposed to be kind of like a modern-day equivalent of the Paperboy icon that you see on the NES. And the dude is angry because Sabrina doesn't have cash on her to pay him or anything, and saying like, oh, I deserve it because I give excellent service. But according to Sabrina, one of the newspapers he brought was back from 1948. So closes the closet door, opens it back up, and then there's a giant pile of newspapers there afterwards. So I wonder where those could have all been stored at, especially with that late of a delivery. It's like she could have bought something from a newspaper from China, and it would have gotten at their house a lot faster. Like, it wouldn't have taken 50 years. So we come back from the opening sequence. Sabrina reads the newspaper to her aunts and finds out that there's an upcoming marriage announcement, and it turns out that the woman in the newspaper article mentioned is actually Salem's daughter, Annabelle. And Salem gets emotional upon this confession that, oh, yes, it's his daughter, because according to Sabrina's aunts, Salem and his daughter haven't spoken in decades, and they try to stay out of the whole family affairs and everything, which, smart move. And after Sabrina talks to Salem, it turns out that he's been blamed by his daughter for not being there, because he's always away and traveling and stuff. I mean, it sounds like he's a professional wrestler being on the road all the time. Oh, deadbeat dad. Like, it's essentially the modern day equivalent of Dominic being mad at Ray. Okay? So, in order to help, Sabrina meets up with Annabelle, talks things out, first time meeting everything, and she isn't even aware at this point that her father's even a cat. It's like, wait, he's your pet? Yeah, your father got turned into a cat because he was a bad person, okay? Now you're caught up to speed. Now, as a result of this reconciliation attempt, Sabrina is suddenly offered the position of maid of honor for this wedding, despite barely knowing Annabelle in the first place. So it's just like, just jumping right in there. And it's going to get crazier upon this after this. So, you get to the coffee shop, which Sabrina's aunts Zelda and Hilda own, and they're too distracted by a basket of bread to focus on the fact that they don't have any happy customers there. So they've also got a grandfather clock that's essentially a time machine of sorts. Like, you can tell you want something and then spin the dial and it'll make somebody appear that they want, even though it still doesn't even technically tell time like it's supposed to with a grandfather clock. So they get back to the house. Salem has a talk with Sabrina, and he's having an issue with assuming these parental duties at the wedding, like father of honor, walking his daughter down the aisle, or even dancing with her at the wedding. Because it's like, oh, how am I supposed to dance with her? Am I supposed to go on her shoe or anything? I mean, it's a good point. So now, because of this, Sabrina is essentially the surrogate/backup father of the bride, so that's extra work for her. Like, I thought there were child labor laws here. Sabrina is a teenager, even as a witch, you can't put her through too much work, can you? So, Hilda and Zelda talk, and they decide they want to bring dates to the wedding. But they don't want to go alone, because, like, who wants to go to a wedding alone? And Salem is like, hey, Zelda, you could take my Uncle Morty. Which Zelda says, no, because your uncle is inappropriate and creepy. Thank goodness there's an awareness of that. So what is Hilda's big idea for how to do this? Let's use our grandfather clock/time machine to bring dates. So Zelda says that she wants somebody who is adventurous, independent, and likes long walks on the beach. So it sounds like she wants to summon a hermit crab. And this prompts a Viking to emerge from the clock who, if you wanted to make like a wrestling joke, you should have just brought out the Berserker. And later at school, Sabrina's talking with her friend, I think it's Libby, not to be confused with Libby from Jimmy Neutron. They're talking about all this stuff, and Harvey opens a locker because he shares a locker with Sabrina, and out pops a magazine that talks about like bridal planning and weddings and all that stuff. So Harvey thinks that Sabrina's already thinking about marriage despite being a teenager who's still attending high school. So this is gonna be another like a side plot going on here. So another person who looks like a wizard from Harry Potter then comes out talking with Zelda, who says that this guy acknowledges that the Earth is not the center of the solar system, but does not realize he isn't either. Yeah, he's not the sun, he's not a star or anything. So she wants to have another date, but no, you got 3 options here, Zelda. It's Hilda's turn. So she wants a guy who will just take out the garbage, whose name I believe is Daniel Boone or something close to that, and instead keeps getting confused for Davy Crockett. I mean, I hope that raccoon on his head doesn't get angry and get hungry and all that stuff. So while Sabrina is cleaning her work counter because she works at the coffee shop that her aunts are own, Harvey and his jerk of a best friend Brad, who is a witch hunter and does not like Sabrina at all because he's a dick, they come to try to clear the air about this whole thing with the magazine, but it doesn't work out that way because Harvey bolts out the door, and one of Sabrina's co-workers overhears this to talk to Josh, who is the manager of the coffee shop, who has an immense crush on Sabrina. So he wants to just swoop in on Sabrina if she becomes single, because there's all this gossip and all that shit going on. So in the kitchen, Salem then enters his litter box, and he's got some newspaper with him to read during his business. I'm sure he was looking for the Garfield comic strip here. And just at that moment, Salem's daughter Annabelle comes to their teleporting closet that we saw earlier with the newspaper boy, and she comes down and finds her dad coming out of the litter box because he kicks litter out of there to try to cover up the fact that he just took his shit. And I see stuff like that, and that's why I'm glad that when we had cats back in the day, we had pellets there instead of the actual litter, so it doesn't get all over the floor, and you really have to struggle to clean all that up. So back at the coffee shop, Sabrina uses her opportunity to use her unused breaks from that day, because she was going to use them to talk to Harvey before he fled the building, uses that and the breaks for the next day to go home early. She wants to do some other stuff, probably talk to Harvey or get the wedding done, whatever. So more gossiping is still going on, and there's rumors that Harvey is going to dump Sabrina because of all the scares, and Josh wants that opportunity, as mentioned, to swoop in. I mean, I don't know why guys have to do that. It's just like, oh, now's my chance to get some. No, leave her be, in case something bad goes wrong, okay? Not everybody's got to swoop in on the one. So back at the house, Sabrina is trying to go over these plans, everything's like, oh, Annabelle, do you want this at your wedding? What about that? Salem, what do you think? So it's a whole consultation here. And apparently Sabrina does not realize that weddings in the other realm where their witches are from, it's different than what you have here in the normal world. And she's about to find that out because upon being summoned there, Sabrina has got this green dress with those shoulder pads like you see back in the old days, like with United Kingdom and everything. She's got a purple sash that says Maid of Honor written on it, and that Napoleon-style hat. So we're really going back in time here. And Zelda, she arrives with her Viking date, and Hilda's got Daniel Boone, who Sabrina also mistakes for Davy Crockett. It's like, gee, I wonder why everybody would confuse him there. And apparently Sabrina's aunts know something about the Maid of Honor duties in the other realm that still hasn't been disclosed yet. Sabrina, you are in for a rough time. So Sabrina's aunts and their dates start doing the bunny hop down the aisle, which I'm surprised the dates know about. I don't think they're witches or anything. And there are also sheep there for no particular reason. I mean, at least it's not pigs being in Vince McMahon's office. So Annabelle's ready to walk down the aisle for her literal knight in shining armor. No clue who was in the outfit. And he looks like he could use some less dents in his outfit. Looks like somebody probably jumped in there during one of those spooky scenes and everything and chasing in a haunted house from Scooby-Doo and all that stuff. And Sabrina also, because of these traditions, she has to carry this giant tree down the aisle, which may upset some people who are in the tree-hugging community, being like, oh, that tree deserves better, it should not be uprooted for this one-time ceremony and eventually disposed of, yada yada yada. So, despite being physically tired from lugging the tree down the aisle, Sabrina then at the front of the altar has to blow up this balloon as part of her Maid of Honor duty. Not realizing you don't have to literally blow it in, because then Zelda finally says, oh, you could just use your magic to blow up the balloon, and you could have also done that to bring the tree down there to the altar and everything. Why didn't you tell her sooner? Okay, misinformation right there. So, everything seems to be okay, and then there's mention like, oh, it's time for the ring. But then Sabrina's like, wait, I don't have a ring. And the priest is like, no, we got this one. So they lift the curtain behind them, and it's a wrestling ring. I'm not kidding, because now the tradition says that the father of the bride must wrestle the father of the groom. And you know who the father of the groom is? Badass Billy Gunn. I'm not kidding. And this is before he was the one Billy Gunn. Now, Sabrina, she essentially has to wrestle Billy Gunn because it wouldn't make sense for Billy Gunn to wrestle Salem the Cat, because that's animal abuse, and then PETA would boycott Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And so she's got to face Mr. Ass Billy Gunn here, and she has to win in order to make sure that Annabelle can't actually get married, because that's part of the rules. And Billy, he rips off his tuxedo, and he's got these glistening tights without the lipstick marks on it and everything, similar to what he would have when he becomes the one Billy Gunn, just still with his long hair and everything. And, like, the glistening there, it looks like one of those fabrics that you could choose, like, for different kinds to make it all glistening and glossy and stuff when you're making one of your characters in the WWE 2K video games. So, we also get a side thing. Harvey's still planning to have the talk with Sabrina, not realizing that Sabrina is nowhere to be found because he doesn't know that she's a witch and she's off doing the wedding. So, the match is about to go underway, and Billy's in-ring name is Xavier the Avenger Prescott. I don't think that name really screams main eventer. And Sabrina, she just gets advised by Salem, go for his weak points, which she doesn't know what it is. I mean, I'd say give him a singles push, that'll really bring him down. So Xavier manages to get a hold of her and does a tilt-a-whirl scoop slam, but then he misses a fist drop from Brett's rope because Sabrina uses her magic to teleport herself out of the way. I don't know what the wrestling rulebooks say about using your magic in order to give yourself an advantage here, but I don't think it would look good. So, wrestling rule, like, stuff's going underway. Sabrina, she's either rigging the eyes or twisting the nose. It looks like the nose based on Billy's selling and everything, and spins him down to the mat. I have never seen anybody flip somebody, like, ranking their nose, but, I mean, we've seen somebody get flipped with Joey Ryan's genitalia in other matches, so anything's possible in the world of wrestling. So, Billy's not happy. He gives a military press slam to Sabrina outside into the arms of the Viking and Daniel Boone. So it feels like a lumberjack match of sorts and all that stuff there. And then he even gets a chin lock on Sabrina when she's back into the ring, which prompts Salem to yeet himself into the ring for interference that the referee allows. It's like, okay, there's cat interference, but it can't cause a disqualification. I guess it's got to be human, technically. And then gets chucked back out into the hands of Daniel Boone. And then Salem goes launch back into the ring, latches onto Xavier's face, and then Sabrina crouches down behind Xavier, causing him to trip over himself, and then Sabrina follows up with a roll-up pin to beat Xavier the Avenger Prescott. And just like that, that means Billy Gunn technically lost to a teenage girl, and he's probably going to be banished to see shows like Metal and dark matches before Heat. So even the priest, when the ceremony's finally finalizing, he's still wearing his referee outfit, looking like a guy from Foot Locker that hasn't retired yet. And to finish the ceremony, the bride and groom have to exchange ring fingers. So it's like, oh, now you're a part of each other. And because of the finalized maid of honor duties, Annabelle has to get a kiss on the cheek from the maid of honor, aka Sabrina. And it's like, yay, there's something. It's like, yay, they're married now, awesome. And everything seems normal back at home, but Hilda has a pie that she made for her new date and everything that smells terrible, according to Zelda's nose. And we should just tell Hilda, don't try to cook anything if it's going to smell like crap. It's like, The Rock might like pie and everything, but I don't think he's going to like the one that's being cooked right there. And then we get to the final two scenes of the episode. Finally get to the coffee shop, Harvey arrives and talks to Sabrina, and he gives her a ring. Huh. But it turns out it's not a wedding ring, it's a promise ring, because it turns out there's a misunderstanding. Neither of them are ready to get married. Well, Harvey says it's a promise ring because if far, far into the future we decide to get married, we should, as long as we don't grow apart or join some strange religious cult. So that means they better avoid the Westboro Baptist Church. And when Sabrina wants to show off the ring, everybody else has already left because they're pissed off that, the gossip was for nothing. Good, maybe you all should just shut up with gossip. And for the final scene during the closing credits and everything, Hilda once again comes along with her ancient date before trying to bring him back to the time clock and everything. And people there confuse him for Davy Crockett. He's like, fine, I'm Davy Crockett. And also, remember the Alamo! Do we remember at high noon and everything there too, Mr. Crockett? So yeah, this was one odd, crossover. I know this episode was 2000. I think it might have happened, it had to have happened before Billy Gunn finally came back on the television and everything, following his rotator cuff injury and all that stuff. But to see him in a match that they had there for Sabrina the Teenage Witch was pretty surprising. I know we've seen some other instances in history, and I'll get to those eventually, where professional wrestlers take part in these wrestling scenes outside of like cartoons and all that stuff. But it's like, it's kind of weird to see Billy Gunn go up against Melissa Joan Hart. I mean, I heard that she's like a wrestling fan and everything, even though Kevin Owens blocked her on Twitter. But I mean, that is actually kind of a fun crossover there. Hopefully, it makes me kind of wonder how the reception was backstage, like if people were getting on Billy's case, like saying, haha, you lost to a teenage girl, you're buried, get back to the bottom of the line. So yeah, that was a pretty weird episode. Fun, still weird, but I liked it. So let me know in the comment section below if any of y'all have ever seen this episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Let me know y'all thought in the comment section below about it, or even what you thought about Billy Gunn being on the episode. But anyway, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's episode, folks, please remember, leave a like, subscribe with the bell, turn on here on YouTube, comment what you thought below, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks for listening, folks. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out, and good day, everybody.